All right, bam. We're live there. Today is a good one. Give me 1 second to get us set up everywhere else. If you do catch it on the YouTube, you should you got to get over, make sure you follow our TikTok account. Make sure you're a follower. We're on track to get to 10,000. Give me a second here, clean up a few things. All right. Looks like we've got everything live now. All right, let's see. But yeah, so if you follow us on the YouTube, make sure you get over and you like our TikTok account as well. We're on the race to 10,000 followers, and we need everyone that we can get. All right. So we'll get started here in a second. If you're already on, we have quite a few people joining from TikTok. That's good. So here's the thing. Regardless of what channel you're watching this video on, if you have any questions at any time, all you got to do is put a comment just put in a comment at any point and we can help you out. So basically what happens is I've got about 12 minutes worth of material that I'll present on. And then when that's done, it's definitely all open to Q&A. All right, let me just get a charge. So Ethan, hopefully you're a follower of the account. Love to have you here. Frank, welcome. I think we've seen you before. All right, so we're going to get started. Look, here's what we're going over today. It doesn't matter whether you're selling a $2,000, $20,000, or $200,000 remodel project. Your sales process is the same. It's just the zeros at the end are bigger. There shouldn't be any change in your demeanor. You shouldn't lose any sleep one way or the other. Nope, same process. All right. Again, for those of you here, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to put them in. We welcome you. And let's get started. And as you know, if you are following on the YouTube, you can actually see the content. So with that being said, here we go. So today's day 30 of the 100-day challenge. And here's the thing. Again, it doesn't matter what the size of the job is. Your process should be the same. And there's some frameworks that you have to follow to help you out. Some of you guys, I can speak from personal experience. In the beginning, when I would come across bigger jobs, I would start to act differently, right? Like I remember the first $250,000 job I bid. I went through like all different things. I changed up my process. It was ridiculous. I should have approached that the same as any other. I'm on the East Coast in Maryland, my man. What about you, Frank? Where are you from? California. Awesome. Well, good. Nice and early where you're at. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm in a hotbed for remodeling. It's super competitive, and I bet it is where you are as well. We've got some of the largest remodeling companies in the country come out of this area, so it's very competitive. It's also very lucrative. A lot of that has to do with we have a lot of federal government and government employees, so a lot of people make good money. Right, every 4 years, basically, new people come in, come out. Doesn't matter. So with that being said, they want to do things to their houses constantly. So that is one advantage to living over in this area. All right. So with all that being said, look, the only difference in your sales approach, just transition. Hey, no worries. Hey, we all got to learn somewhere. So you'll be fine, brother. I remember the first day when I got my license. Believe me, I learned the hard way. So hopefully I can save you some headaches and banging your head up against the wall. So like my first job that I sold was probably around 25,000, right? It wasn't for a couple months till we started getting into like the six-figure projects. But I remember the first $250,000 project that I went into and I was nervous, right? I wanted to have a good show and, have my shirt all nice, And really my nervousness got transitioned over and probably was one of the reasons why I did not land that job. I should have approached that job like I approached the $2,000 job. Here's the thing, regardless of the price, the only thing that changes is the scope. That's it. Because at the end of the day, it's trust, clarity, confidence, and control. That's what every client is actually buying at the end of the year, right? Regardless of their budget. Trust, confidence, clarity, and they want to understand that you have control of the process to keep them safe at night. So, all right. So when you sell based on, we went over the other night, what's called the buyer drivers, right? What makes the particular person you're talking to purchase, and it comes from here. And you applied the applied relational intelligence. That's the way you're communicating with them. You create a system that can work at any price point. It doesn't matter. So here's some rookie mistakes that I made. I'll over explain, right? And that's because I'm maybe feeling unsure or I'm like, I really want to make sure they get it. Only explain more if they ask you to explain more. So I'm a big, that was a big problem of mine. I would over explain, I would undercharge, right? The numbers would start to get so big, I'd be like, we don't need them. We got plenty of money in this job. No, we don't. So I would undercharge because I wasn't used to some of those big numbers. Bigger jobs can get away from you fast. So if anything, you need to make sure you're adding more on them. Over promising. Stop that over promising. If it's natural to want to tell the homeowner that you're going to do this and that for them because you think like, man, this is a great opportunity. In for me in the beginning, when I would you, how do I explain it best? I used to worry about having enough work for all of my employees. So in the beginning, when I would sell a small job, I was like, I just got to hurry up and get it done. But when I came across the bigger jobs, I was like, oh, this will be nice. The guys could be working here for like 6 weeks, 6 months. I could put 3 crews over on that job for a while if I wanted to, right? And when I do that, I start over promising sometimes. And I'm starting to tell the client we're going to do more than maybe we should or that we often will do. And I'm only setting us up for them and us for a failure because they're going to be disappointed because we're not going to be able to deliver all the time like that. So, if anything, when you come across the bigger jobs, scale back and don't promise so much. Don't get yourself set up to fail from the beginning. All right, good to see a bunch of you joining. We're going through how a lot of people, especially myself, how you get nervous when you come across those huge jobs in the beginning. And basically your process should stay the same. So if you have any questions, let me know. All right. My tone of voice, the way I'm communicating with the homeowner, it should not change at all, whether it's a $2,000 job or a $200,000 job. I want to approach everything the same. All the jobs are as important or not as important. We treat them across the board the same. Just because you come into me with a $2 million job, I shouldn't give you any preferential treatment over the person that's paying me 2,000 because it takes the same amount of resources, right? Somebody has to drive to the site, somebody has to do something. The only difference is how long is someone going to be there. When you don't have the same transparency across the board, it can lead to clients not trusting you. All right. So, part 2, your sales script, here's a big word. It should be price agnostic. That means it doesn't matter what the price is. All right. So, this is where you'll use the Spark and ARI based sales languaging. And if tonight's your first night in here, You'll want to go back to some of our previous recordings. You can see them in the workshops under the YouTube channel, and you can learn about the buyer driver. You can, if you don't have my book, you can get the book, learn about the Spark method. You'll want to put that into a play. And then you need to learn about ARI, and that's how you communicate to homeowners. It's called Applied Relational Intelligence. All right. So remember, there's the client's motivation. Wanting a new kitchen isn't the motivator. What about the kitchen is why they want it? That's what you have to understand. You have to understand their timeline very clearly, and you have to know their fears. Homeowners are afraid of typically the following: looking like an idiot, their neighbors judging them, somebody telling them that they made a bad decision by hiring you. They don't want to feel like they made a bad decision. That's their fear. And when they have all these fears, they will often justify that's why they start shopping price, because then they can say to everyone, well, it was such a good deal, we couldn't pass it up. But that's not what they want to do. They want to go with safety and security. They want to go with the guarantee, the contractor that lets them know he's going to get the job done and best understands their vision. So that's what you want to be for the homeowner. All right. Appreciate you guys hopping in here. So let's move on now. The output. You need to do a discovery session, right? I prefer you move into what's called a paid planning process. And that's where you then are become the confident recommendation. If you're doing all the planning and designing, it only makes sense that the homeowner move forward to hire you. All right. Remember, the machine doesn't care if it's a powder room or a full home gut. Your process stays the same. The only thing that changes on your estimate is the inputs, the outputs, the scope, and the dollar amount. The rest of the process should be the same. All right. Yeah, thank you, Osgardo. Hopefully you're here to talk about remodeling. All right. Part 3, selling with confidence. Remember, you're not selling cabinets. The $200,000 client is still buying confidence, right? They're thinking like, will this company protect my investment? How well will this company add to the value of my home? Do they have a process in place? Can these guys really pull this off? What if the owner gets sick? What if somebody's in a car accident? Like, is there enough manpower to keep my job going? That's why a lot of homeowners hire bigger companies, because they want to have peace of mind, because they know shit hits the fan all the time. And the homeowner wants to say and be able to feel, yeah, these guys have done it before. They know what they're doing. All right. So if you suddenly find yourself being nervous, differential, uncertain, they start to feel that. Don't let the number scare you. Approach any project price the same. So when you run the exact same sales process for any style client, 2K, 20K, 200K, and you do it with poise, with structure, with clarity, then the high-end client sees you as someone who's worth paying and getting and moving forward with the process. So let's talk about positioning, price, pace. Here's how you do it. With the lower priced customer, the concept is, hey, we'll be able to solve this for you fast. We'll be able to solve it for you cleanly, right? For the expensive, the high end, then it's let us help you plan this so it runs smoothly and predictably. Okay? That's the way you want to start talking to them. As far as the process, you always move people to the paid plan first, for regardless of the size of the job. Okay? And you do that because it instills confidence that you're going to give them the best plan going forward so that everyone's on the same page and we know everything that's required. The pace for the lower price jobs, you should be able to get those done in like 1 to 2 meetings. For some of the more high end jobs, like $250,000, $2 million, Yes, it may involve another planning session or two. That's okay. That's the only thing that really changes is the amount of time because you're covering more details. The scope should be the same. And don't let it be so reactive. It should be more visionary. The homeowner should look at you and go, damn, these guys have their shit together. Like they know what they're doing. They've done this before. They should feel like very confident in your ability. So consistency is your advantage. If you're not scrambling, you're leading, right? It's the same steps, the same tone, the same structure, no matter the size. Remember, different style homeowners are going to respond different ways. So, and they're going to yep, I that's exactly correct. So they all at the end of the day want trust, they want simplicity, they want peace of mind, and they want that emotional reward at the end of the job. That's what they're in there for. So they don't buy the size of the job, they buy how you make them feel during the sales process. So if you've done different size jobs, let me know like the range. Um, have you, what do you sell? 2,000 to 200,000? Are most of your jobs 40 to 80,000? Put in the comments like what range you typically sell jobs at. So your process is what should build the trust, and your solution is to sell a positive outcome. So, all right. You don't need to raise your voice, soften your pitch, or justify your numbers. Big clients didn't get there by being emotional about money. When you deal with people that have money, they're they're either one or two things, right? They're usually pretty calm about money because they're confident. Now, sometimes if they've inherited a bunch, they'll spend it foolishly. But things you want to say to them is, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we use the same process for every client. Doesn't matter whether it's a $20,000 remodel or a $200,000, addition. We plan first, we plan accurately, and then we deliver with confidence. And you should want to follow that same process for everyone. All right. And yes, and for those of you just joining, hello. And please put in the comments what like the different price ranges of the jobs that you've sold typically fall in. Um, so here's the thing. At the end of the day, the script that you want to put in for the AI is you're a remodeling sales expert. You're trained in applied relational intelligence. You want to create two sales scripts. One's for that $20,000 bath, one's for that $200,000 addition. And you want to use the same consultative discovery process, the same confidence and language. You want to understand the buyer driver connection points, and you want to include the phrasing to confidently present the estimate for both without flinching. So that's your assignment if you haven't done it already. All right. So, what questions do you have? Those of you that have stuck it out. Anybody have any questions? It's good to see you. Let's see who's still in here. You got Corey, Danny, Eric, Mark, Jay, Mark, another Mark, your tree service. Yeah, look, if you guys got any question, you let me know. Like, tell me what the average size price range is. Do you sell from 2,000 to 20 or 20 to 200? Let me know what jobs, you guys typically are selling. And I'm here to let you know that your sales process shouldn't change regardless. Okay. At the end of the day, it's always the same. Yep. Hey, Kev. Good to see you. AJ. Yeah. Again, if any of you have any questions, let me know what your okay. Yeah, so like good. There's somebody you sell between 15,000 and 45. Yeah, so that's a good price range. And again, when you meet with that homeowner, nothing should change, right? Whether they're if you shouldn't be disappointed for the 15 and you shouldn't be any more excited for the 45. Your demeanor should be consistent across the board, and you'll have much better results because the homeowner will feel that confidence that you have. So, what else? Anybody else have any? Again, regardless of whatever channel or platform you're on, if you have a question or a comment, you just put it into the chat. And hey, Danny, good to see you here. Thanks, Dan and Billy. Yep, appreciate. Hey, you're back. All right, good to see you, Jose. Yep. So, but yeah. So, at the end of the day, it's always the same process because remember, people are buying from here, and that's how you want to connect with them, right? Don't let the dollar amount make you either nervous or excited one way or the other. All right. I mean, that's pretty much the content for tonight. So, like I said, I shared from my personal experience when I first got in the business. I clearly remember this one gentleman. He owned a big video company. He handled all the video surveillance for a lot of the malls in our area. And I remember meeting him at his house, and we came up with a nice design, and I just over tried to sell it too much. I tried too hard to get the job. I did not land that project. And when I look back on it, it was because I wanted it and like I cared too much about it. I should have just been more nonchalant, been like, yeah, listen, Bill, we do these types of jobs all the time. If we're the company that's a good fit for you, perfect. And I should just let it be what it was. Instead, I tried too hard to get the job, and it backfires because they homeowner can like sense that you're getting desperate. So whereas I would turn around the next day and sell 3 more $20,000 jobs with no problem because I kinda didn't care whether I got them or not, I really did want that big job at first, that 200,000 one. I remember, like, it was important. So, that's what I can share with you is you gotta treat them all the same. So, it's just another 0. As long as your process, if you have a good process, if your estimating process works, you shouldn't be any more afraid of a big job from a little job because the same mistakes are gonna happen on all of them. Right? So just make sure you're covering yourself and you have somebody looking over your shoulder, right? To double check you. So you make sure you don't. I mean, if you're doing $250,000 projects and you don't have somebody else helping you look over your estimates, I'd be worried. You need someone to review things to make sure you didn't miss stuff. Even if it's a partner or the employee on the company say, "Hey, this do I look like I have everything that would be necessary for a job like this?" Because in our minds, we will miss something, especially if we've been working on a proposal for many hours. You end up glossing over that information. That's how you end up making a lot of mistakes. So, all right. Well, guys, Eric, Jay Allen, who's got it? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, let me know what type of projects that you guys are working on. What are your niches or specialties? Hi, Julie. Service plumbing. Okay. Very good. Yeah, so your jobs are all over the place. You might have a couple $100 to several thousand as well. Now, do you get into will you do full service bathroom modeling? Yep. We're filtered. So TikTok's telling me that some of y'all's comments are being filtered. I don't even know what you're trying to say. I can't even imagine at this point. Yeah. So obviously, the type of language that you're for some of you, I can't speak for what it is because TikTok's filtering it. But most likely, if some of you got to watch what you say if you want your comment to come through, because they have yeah, so Jimmy, this is for contractors and remodelers. The idea is that regardless of the size of your project, your sales approach should be the same, whether it's a $2,000 job or a $200,000 job. That's what the context is. Thanks for stopping in. Are you a contractor? The description should have said contractors on the live, but I realize that doesn't always yeah, cool. You got it. So, Dismal City. Yep. Who else is in here? Alan, Julie. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about remodeling, if you just want to let me know what the average size project that you do is. Like I said, I remember when I first got licensed, the very first job was like probably 25,000 for me. Then we ended up getting a change order midway through for another like 15. So we ended up getting up to about 40. Then we signed a few 65, $85,000 projects. And then we did quite a few $15,000 projects. So, the first 6 months, look, we just took on whatever job we could. At that point, the name of the game is just survival, right? You got to build up your referral base as quick as possible. You got to build up cash reserves as quick as possible. And you need to be busy. You got to always be working because you want to get yourself exposed to as many neighborhoods as possible and as many people as possible. Right. So in the beginning, I would say you do take on more projects, and then there comes a tipping point where once you have a solid base under you, definitely want to get more selective. Now, if you've got a lot of money in the bank, then you can be selective from day one. That wasn't my situation. Right. We needed to build up the war chest in the beginning. So, Don, thanks for joining. I mean, again, if you guys have any specific questions, I can help address it. Otherwise, I don't really have much else to go over. I'm going to stop the screen share. Who else is on here? Yeah. So anyway, Jimmy, are you a contractor or are you just swinging in? Christopher, are you a contractor? What type? If so, just put in the chat what type of work you do. All right, that's cool, Jimmy. Just swinging in. Glad to have you. Maxine May, are you in the contracting world? All right. Nope. All right. Well, thanks for popping in. Who's left? Jay Allen, you got any specific question? Anything I can help you with? You seen any of the videos recently? Anything that struck you, you liked, didn't like? What do you think of the edits? I've had a couple people comment that they think I put in too many edits. uh, Obviously, I can't please everybody. All right. No worries. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you being positive. The world, I tell you, as a contractor, at least this was my experience. You get so much negativity, right? So many people just want to complain and are frustrated and want to beat you up. So it's interesting. Like I'll put out all my videos. The intent is always to help, right? Now, sure, I have a sense of humor. I like to throw in some sarcasm and like poke the bear a little bit. But I'm shocked at how many angry people out there. They just take their negative energy and put it into like watching videos and then commenting angrily. It's like, dude, like what are you doing with your life? Like get out there and do something that makes you excited instead of just raining on other people's parades. I find it fascinating. There are just and it's this industry specifically. I'm telling you, for whatever reason in remodeling, there are so many angry, bitter, broke contractors. I mean, it's a tough business. I am not mistake. Please, I'm not taking anything from anyone. I get it, and I Yeah, a lot of people have been burned. That is true. And also understand that a lot of people don't do a good job about figuring it out who to hire. Like the the rub goes both ways. There's a lot of homeowners that make poor choices. They go in very naively, right? They don't do any due diligence. I'm not saying that's you by no means, but I'm saying in most of the homeowners that I would get called into, if their first contractor went wrong, I was like, well, tell me about your process. Like, did you drive and look at any of the jobs that they were currently working on? No. Did you actually call and talk to any homeowners of people that they said they had worked for before you hired? No. So what did you do? Well, we just trusted them. They seemed nice. They were friendly. We liked them. And I mean, you got to understand there are professional con artists that go around acting as contractors because they know how easy it is to take advantage of the homeowner that won't do the basic due diligence. So it is unfortunate thing that happens in the industry, you know? And you would think in this day and age with all the technology, like it's pretty easy to check to see if someone's legit. Now, some guys spend a lot of time making their profiles look A plus. And some guys lie and they will like so in my state we have to put our license on it's on all our advertising. It's supposed to be on your vehicles, which is kind of a bad thing in some respects cuz then people end up stealing it, right? So you'll have people that masquerade like we have people that we've caught them pulling permits trying to use our company name saying that they're us. So it happens and it's unfortunate. So sometimes the homeowner just the basic thing of I should call the company phone number that I see on the website and I should say, "Hey, I'm Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I live at 1216. We just had one of your guys over." That company's going to know whether it was one of their actual employees or whether it's the company that's acting as an imposter, right? Sometimes it's just the simplest things need to be done to do a check. Correct. They don't do their homework. Yeah, Jimmy, you're right. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. When I first got licensed, I put up a website. I was one of this was early 2000. I was one of the first contractors, that had websites. Not a lot of guys were doing it. And I got contacted by a lawyer out of Virginia, and he handled litigation in my state between contractors and homeowners. And he had a bunch of cases where, the homeowner was suing the contractor. So he hired me because I was licensed to come out and assess what had happened on the job, talk to both the homeowner and the contractor to try to understand where things went wrong. And almost every time when I would talk to the homeowner, I'd say, well, tell me, how many bids did you get for the project? What was the price range? Tell me about the scope of work, the other contractors. Why did you hire the company you hired? Most of the time, they said, well, we like their price. They almost always defaulted to the lower price contractor. And then that was the reason why it went south. And now that's why they're in litigation. So in our state, if you, a lot of times they want you to go more through like an arbitration process first. Now, sometimes, there's extenuating circumstances, but it was interesting. You start seeing a pattern, right? The homeowners just were hiring the cheapest. And here's what I would find from the contractor. The contractor sometimes just made a mistake, was new, didn't know any better, didn't understand that they should have charged more. And what would happen is they'd get into the job and they would start to realize rather quickly that they were losing money and they would start trying to cut corners. And that's when everything would start to fall apart. So, and I mean, today going forward, that's a message I share with homeowners up front. I'm like, you're going to be tempted to take that bait. And there are professionals out there. There are contractors that is their goal in life is to dangle that cheap price right out in front of you because they know it's so hard for you to resist, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. You just have to bite. That's right. You want it. You know you want this good deal. Come on. Here it is. Take it. And then boom, once you're hooked, then next thing you know, there's all these change orders. Then it's like that wasn't included. This isn't included. You get some half-ass scope of work that has no detail. You get this vague contract that hardly has any information. And then the contractor's playing with the homeowner. It's like they scored the jackpot. And yes, so there are some contractors that do this on purpose. And that homeowner, they w they only have themselves to blame because they went for the cheapest price, and they just couldn't resist. It sucks. It really sucks, but it happens. I don't think any get almost none get their money back. Yeah. They just end up sucking it up and moving on. Because there's used most of the time the guys that defaulted on the job, what are you gonna how are you gonna sue them? Let's say you win a judgment. Well, then you're just hoping that they pay it back. It's not like the courts, the contracting police doesn't go show up to the contractor's house and say, give us 100 grand to give back to the Smiths because the job went south. You can win a judgment against the company. Most contractors, they'll just shut down that company. So J. Smith and Sons, they're going to close that. 2 months later, it's going to be, you know, J. A. Y. Smith. And it's a new company, new license, new LLC, new tax ID, and they just move on. So you're not, there's no money to go after. The courts can make a judgment, but can't make someone. Yeah. And so what if there's a judgment? You could have judgments in your favor all day long. It don't mean you're going to ever get paid. So think about it. You, the homeowner, you hired the cheap contractor. You gave them X amount of money. They didn't do half the work that they said. They left your house as a mess. Then you have to hire an attorney to go through the process. So now you're out another 15 grand, possibly 5, 10, whatever. And then, yeah, let's say you win the judgment. The chances of you ever seeing that money are slim to none. So now it's cost you this extra money of hiring the attorney. And now you have to go back out and hire another contractor to correct the problem that the last one caused. So now this job of yours, I mean, it could be twice as much as it was originally. And you've already lost the amount of money from hiring the first guy. And if the more homeowners that understood this, the less, like, you'd have to slap a homeowner silly and say, "What are you doing hiring the cheapest contractor?" Like, that risk is through the roof. But and most of the time, the homeowner only has to have that experience once in life. If they've ever had it happen to them once, they've gotten burned, they know. Going forward, nope, they're never going to hire the cheap guy again. Yes, it does, Jay, and it happens all the time. It really it's staggering how much it happens. The longer you stay in the business, the longer you realize. And you know who it happens to the most? This is what I found in my area. For whatever reason, I mean, we have a lot of universities around me. So I have a lot of homeowners that have college degrees, and a lot of them have like masters, right? The people that have all the book smarts, they have no street smarts half the time. And they are convinced that they're being smart and doing the diligent thing by price shopping. It's all about price and comparing the bid. And then they are so confident that hiring the cheapest person is the way to go. And yet it backfires on them. And it's typically the person with all the book smart education that makes that mistake. I don't understand it half the time, but that was one of the big commonalities I found when I would meet with the homeowners. Is they almost all were people that you would genuinely think are pretty smart. They all had college degrees, most of them had masters. And then here they are in a lawsuit with a contractor. Ah, frustrating. But that's life. And a lot of times the person who thinks they're smart, they think they're getting one over by hiring the cheap contractor. They in their mind, they think that they're like, "Oh, we found the guy. We found the sucker. He'll do it for less for us. We're going to still get this great job and he's not going to charge us as much because he's not as sharp." You know what I mean? Some of the contractors actually play dumb on purpose. It's like a role that they play. They come in, they don't act that sharp. So, and then the homeowner thinks that they're getting one over on the contractor. I mean, it's such an interesting dynamic that you start seeing happening with so many of these cases, but that's life. Mm. All right. We've had a few more people pop on. Um, Jimmy, you're back. Yep. All right. So, folks, I think that's going to be it for tonight. Unless anybody else has any other comments or questions, please, by all means, go ahead and put something in the chat. I'd be happy to address it. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up. Soldier of God has joined. Welcome, Soldier of God. Dude Bod 78, welcome. All right. Well, you guys have been great. I appreciate you commenting, and hopefully we got something accomplished. You were able to walk away with something that you didn't have before. And don't worry, we'll be back again. We're on here every day, not always this late, but we're definitely on. So if you're not already following the account, please give us a follow. We're on a goal to try to get to 10,000. Uh, we are a brand new account, so it takes a little while. Hey, C Knowles. Yeah, brother. You're going to have to watch this one on replay. uh, I appreciate you being here. Welcome. Don't worry. We were just talking about the homeowners that hire the cheap contractor because they fall for the bait and then they end up in litigation and, their project gets stalled and goes nowhere, and how often that happens and the commonalities between it. So I'm sure you know all about that game from the cheap contractor who just goes around and sells the jobs for the low price just to get the homeowner to bite. They hook them. Uh, yes, they do. They think they're being smart, right? It's so frustrating. You try to explain, and it's funny. I would educate like a lot of the homeowners. I would say, look, I get it. I understand that you want to look for a good price. I want to look for a good price as well. But understand that when somebody offers you a really low price, you are not getting the same product. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have this in your part of the country, but where I'm at, you have these guys that steal things. I don't care what it is. They'll steal stereos, they'll steal steaks, and then they run around in shopping centers and try to sell it like out of the back of their van. I mean, it's like, who falls for this stuff? Yep, cost in the end. They don't know the difference. And you try to explain to the homeowner, like, Mr. Miss Smith, I get it. That other contractor, he might be $5,000 less, but you are not getting the same thing. Please, for the love of God, please hear me. Right? Just go to the courthouse, go to the local courthouse, talk to and look up all the dockets, find all the cases against contractors, start talking to those homeowners, and you're going to find that almost all those homeowners are in court now or in litigation because they hired the cheapest or one of the cheaper contractors. You It's like you never hear of the homeowner that said, "We hired the most expensive contractor. It was a disaster." It's like that doesn't happen. Cheerful giver. Hey, listen, brother. I don't know who you are, but I think you've stepped into the wrong account. So you get one warning, and then we're going to find where your mom is. Yep, to spend. Yeah, absolutely, C knows. They have to learn to spend a lot more money. And it can be challenging, because you know what happens? I find most homeowners don't know what things cost, and they really want nice things. They want to see all the things that they see at their friends' houses or they've seen on TV. And then it's frustrating for them when they realize they can't afford it. They pop in, they want to have that kitchen done, and then they're thinking, I can get it done for 40, and they realize, damn, it's going to be more like 85. And I get it. It's frustrating to not be able to always be able to have what you want. But that's the reality of the world. But what you definitely don't want is a project that falls apart and then have your kitchen torn apart, and then 3 years later you're still don't have a kitchen because you've been in litigation the whole time. I mean, that's not what you want for sure. So, all right, guys, we are we're past the time. That's going to be everything for tonight. Uh Appreciate y'all being here. and we'll be back tomorrow. So you guys have a good one. And C Knowles, don't worry, you'll be early for the other ones. I appreciate you coming back. All right, you guys have a good one. All right. And for those of you on the others, we're shutting it down. Thanks for being here. And if we can ever help you out, all you got to do is reach out.